Dear friends, in this video, I'd like to talk about port forwarding, which is a very important technique for pivoting. After we can get initial foothold on the victim or get initial share on the victim machine, in most cases, we need to get access to the different machine or different open port number on the same machine, or maybe different container on the same machine. There will be two types or maybe three types of port forwarding. For example, the first one would be local port forwarding, and the second one is remote port forwarding. And lastly, would be the dynamic port forwarding. However, from my experience, I'd like to say, as a pen tester, we should focus more on the local port forwarding. And I think we will encounter the situation of local port forwarding very much. So what's local port forwarding? This technique is used to access surface on remote server. But of course, maybe this is not correct term. Maybe in the same server, however, on the different container, or maybe even the same machine, and we want to access different surface or different port number. And such surface are not directly, or such port number are not directly accessible from the canonics or attacking machine. So we can utilize the port forwarding to tunnel the traffic from the local machine to the remote server. Okay? And here, as you can see over here, we can set up the local port number on the canonics, and then the attacker can access this local port number on the canonics, and then all traffic which should be going to the destination, for example, different server or different port number, can be transporting over this tunnel or transporting over this port forwarding. Okay, so how to set up such local port forwarding? Generally speaking, there will be two major techniques. The first one is Metasploit framework, and I've already utilized this Metasploit framework to do the port forwarding in other videos, if you have already followed my channel. So how to do? First of all, we need to get the initial shell, and then we need to spawn or upgrade this normal shell to the Metasploit, because Metasploit can provide more functions than the normal shell, or maybe than normal reverse shell. For example, we can use the Metasploit session to upload and download the file, and many functions we can get. In this case, we can utilize the Metasploit session to set up the port forwarding. Here, I assume that we have already got the initial shell on the target or on the victim machine. Next, we can try to set up the Metasploit session. And as you know, first of all, we need to create the payload of a Metasploit. And you can use the MSF volume to do. I'm not going to do that. In this video, I will not do the hands-on practice. I just give you summary of the local port forwarding technique. Okay? So, of course, back to the canonics, we need to set up the handler. And as you can see, we can use the handler, a module, and then we can set the payload. Of course, this payload has to be the same as the payload when we create the payload with MSF volume. And we also need to set the options like local port number and the local host. Okay, so this would be the first step. And the next, after we can get the metapreter session, you need to background this metapreter session, and by pressing keys on the keyboard, Control and Z, and then we can run command, the port forwarding at command, and with option of L, the normal L, to specify the local port number on the Kali Linux, and then followed by the R, or remote IP address. And this IP address could be the local host, or maybe another IP address, or maybe IP address of another container, depending on different situations. This case, we want to access the victim machine with a different port number. Okay, so the 80, and we can use L, specify the local port number, and use the R, specify the remote address, the target machine, or maybe the different container. I think I've already made it clear. And also use the normal P to specify the remote port number. Okay, and then we can, back to the Kali Linux, access this remote or forwarded port number, and depending on the service which is running on this port number. If the service is HTTP service, then we can use the browser to access. And of course, if the remote IP address is the local one, and we in the browser address bar we need to put the localhost or 127.0.0.1, okay, and followed by the local port number. Very important, not the remote port number. This port number is the listening port number on the Kali Linux. Okay, and then if you want to confirm, or you want to make sure that this listening port number or listener port number is set up correctly, we can use the ss or netstat command. Okay, I think I've already demonstrated such a technique for many times. So this would be the first method to set up the local port forwarding. Of course, in most cases, this Metasploit framework can work very well. However, in some circumstances, this metapreter is not very stable. In such case, we can use the second method. So I think as a pen tester, we need to grasp techniques as many as possible. So if the one specific technique cannot work for a specific situation, then we can go to its alternative. For example, this case, we can use the SSH if the target is running SSH. I mean, the victim machine is running SSH service. So, of course, if the target or victim machine doesn't run SSH service, I think we cannot utilize this method to make port forwarding, local port forwarding. And if the service is running on the victim machine, then we can use this command, as you can see here, the -L, the uppercase L, to specify the mode of the port forwarding. There will be two types. The first one is the L. It means the local port forwarding. And in some case, we have to set up the remote forwarding. In that case, we can use the option of -R, the uppercase R, and then followed by the local port number and the remote IP address, so remote server, and then the port number or the remote port number. Okay, and then is the credentials for the SSH collection. Okay, so I think that's all I'd like to cover for the local port forwarding, which is very pivotal for the pen testing. Hopefully, this can bring some benefits for you. Okay, thank you.